Okay, time to take a look at the ANDELI MIG 270. So we got some hose, we got our instructions. Oh, that's interesting. So we have some extra line for our wire for our MIG gun. We got some nozzles. We got a bunch of tips. So it says that they are all 1.0, but these are a little bit extra thicker than a normal. And we got our MIG gun. So we do have a fairly nice feeling MIG gun. It does have some rubber coating here on the back and on the sides. Interesting, it has kind of a swivel joint there on the base with this strain relief. So basically nothing about this is traditional. Very unique equipment on here. Nice thick cable, which I approve of. And then we got this feeding line here on the base with 2 contacts and a gas line. And it comes with half a kilogram of 1mm wire. So here's the welder. Compared to a lot of the normal MIG welders that I've been finding lately, this is actually a fairly large welder. It has a protected cover there on the front, so you don't have to worry about sparks or anything getting on there and damaging our display. That's interesting. We have a drop down side instead of a pull up. Nice and roomy on the inside too, so you're not going to worry about it working in a small space whenever you're going to replace the wire. Looks like we have plenty of space in there as well for a larger size spool in the event that you want that. On the back, we've got our on-off switch. We do have active cooling, and we've got a spot for our gas. Got a nice thick handle on the top, and this is set for 240 out of the box, but we do have this adapter. Nice thick cable on here as well, but this will allow us to take our 240, plug that in, and then we can use our standard household outlet. So very nice if you got to take this guy out to a work site and they don't have 240 where you're working. I also appreciate that this adapter is a male 120 to female 240, because that means that if you leave this thing plugged in, nobody's going to accidentally mistake that. If you had that the other way around to where you had a male 240 to a female 120, then there is a possibility somebody could plug into that and destroy their equipment. So glad they did this. We've got some sticks. So it comes with J422s by Golden Bridge. And we've got our stinger. So if we want to, we could plug this guy in, lock that in, and instead of using the MIG, we could use it as a stick welder. And we've got our grounding clamp. Yeah, I love that they're using thick cables for everything on here. It's very reassuring. There's a lot of these welders I find that have just like, feels like 12 gauge wire in it. You really should have much thicker cable, and this actually comes with it. I also like seeing that we got that braided cable there on the inside, so if we're making better contact on this side than on this side, we don't have to worry about that pin in order to send the current down to that wire. Okay, so let's go ahead and put on our spool. Take that off. We want to make sure that we're inserting this, so it's going to go counterclockwise because this is going to feed from the bottom. Then we got our tensioner. This is actually kind of cool. So our bearing that's going to feed that wire is actually spring loaded, which is kind of unique. You don't normally see that in a welder. And we have got, our wheel is actually held in with a nut, a large plastic threaded nut. And it does have metal threading on there, so we're not going to worry about damaging that. But if we pull this guy out, looks like we got a 0.8 on one side and a 1.0 on the other. We want the 1.0, so we're going to put that in with the 1.0 facing out. Basically how it was when we got it. So you shouldn't even have to mess with that, but it is always a good idea to check just to make sure that you got the right size wire. So for this step, you want to have some needle nose pliers. Going to grab the wire, pull it out. I want to hold it with one hand because I don't want this thing to unspring on me. We will clip off any little bends or anything we got on there and feed that in. I was wrong. Actually, looks like we want to have the 1.0 facing inside. So the wire is going to seat on the inside track, not on the outside. So we want to have it so that the 0.8 is facing out, not the 1.0. Not a big deal, just something you got to keep in mind. It's a little uncommon, but it is doable. So now we're just going to push that wire through until we can see it pulling out the other side. Then we drop the pulley back down and clamp that in. So it looks like we did actually come with another wheel. This is also a 1.0 and a 0.8. So no difference between this wheel and the wheel that's in there. Maybe if you use that thing a lot and it gets wore out, you want to try a different one, but it does come with another one in the package. We also have another strain relief. So it looks like this will match up with our base where it threads in. So in the event that you want to change this guy out for maybe you want a different clamp, you actually have all the parts you need to replace that. So that's actually kind of neat. So this hose, it appears that they gave us plenty of extra, so we're going to have to trim that to whatever length that we want. A little odd that they gave you that much extra, because there's definitely no way to attach that as is. Okay, and now we can feed that onto our wire. Make sure that we are lining up the pins and drop that in. Okay, so on the bottom we have got this wire. and you can plug that into positive and negative. So this is actually kind of nice. On old welders, you actually had to open up the side, undo some nuts, pull the cables off, and then switch the polarity. With this, all you got to do is change from one spot to the other. So that's nice. You have instructions here, and they recommend we're going to use DC electrode negative. So this is going to plug into the black, and then our working clamp. Okay, so just like that. And I am going to use the adapter because I'm going to be using 120. Plug that guy in and give it the juice. Okay, and we got a pretty slick looking display on there. MIG Synergy, interesting. So we can swap through all those. We got our lift TIG, we've got MMA, MIG spool gun, so if we're going to weld with aluminum, we got a spool gun, we can use that. MIG Flux core, that's what we're going to be using. We also have MIG aluminum, MIG CV, MIG CS, so that's regular MIG gas, and then MIG pure carbon dioxide. I guess that's going to have presets for each of those gas mixtures. We're going to go with MIG Flux core because that's what we're using. So right now the top wheel, oh that's neat. So as soon as we adjust the amps, it also adjusts the volts, and this lets us know what type of metal this is going to be good for. So a lot of welders, you either have to have a cheat sheet or you have to just really know what you're doing, or sometimes they put a cheat sheet here on the inside of the welder. This one actually has it right here on the display, so that's pretty cool. Now that is in millimeters, so you are going to have to convert that if you're used to using fractions, so if you're welding 1/8 inch, you know. But I am just going to wing it. We're going to start with 60 amps, which is what I usually go with when I'm welding 1/8 inch. It looks like we can actually change the voltage independently, which is nice. So if we really want to fine tune that, we can do that. So we can actually adjust it based on the thickness of the metal. And we got 2T, 4T, and spot. So 2T is going to be you press the trigger, it starts welding, you let go of the trigger, it stops. 4T means you press the trigger once, it starts going, you press the trigger again, it stops. And then a spot, of course, you just press the trigger and then it just makes a quick little spot weld. I'm just going to keep it on 2T, I like having that control over it. So very interesting. So we need to get the wire from the inside past the tip. So I'm just going to pop that tip loose and pull the trigger. While I'm pulling the trigger, we're going to watch the inside. We don't want to put our hands in there, but we just want to make sure that nothing is binding up. Okay, and we got our wire. Now I can shut that off, put our tip back on, and drop our nozzle back on. And we are ready to weld. That is so smooth. You can definitely tell just by the amount of red that we got on there, this thing is running super hot. But the thing I like about it right now is there is no popping going on. It was just flowing out of there. I'm going to turn that down to about 50 amps. There we go. There's my first pass. There's my second pass. That thing lays some beautiful beads. I think that the wire is a little bit extra forgiving on here. It feels like it's just puddling up a little bit too nicely. I think I need some worse wire. But that welder runs incredibly well. So if you're looking for a super high quality welder, like everything about this screams quality. So I'm happy with that.